how WWE can quickly turn up the volume on its Roman Reigns CM Punk Survivor Series story. The post, Joseph Staszewski, brings you around the world of professional wrestling in his weekly post-match angle. It took some time for my head to wrap itself around it, to process and think back a little bit as to why creatively CM Punk and not Seth Rollins or Brock Lesnar was the best fifth man for Roman Reigns' Survivor Series team. There is the obvious reason for Punk's star power and his strong connection to Paul Heyman that a call from the wise man, after he reconnected his phone, made sense, as long as they don't start calling him CM Uso. But as I thought about and factored in two key pieces of information, I started to appreciate Punk's presence as not some callback to something in the Bloodline story, but the potential for a fresh and unfiltered voice in it, a chance to turn up the volume even more. After Punk helped clear the ring of Solo Sikoa's Bloodline, Reigns looked confused at his presence, asking him, inaudibly, why he was there. Punk, the original Paul Heyman guy, told Reigns it's not about you but him, pointing to Heyman. Reigns replied by saying, he's my wise man. Punk quipped back with, we'll see. An ex-user then posted Punk's lone interaction with Sikoa's crew back in June, when, scared for his life, Heyman asked, the voice of the voiceless, to take me with you away from the new Bloodline. Heyman hinted in August, during an interview with Sam Roberts, that his return would set up a year's worth of storyline. Then it clicked. Punk's role in this can have three prongs. He should be seen as a threat by Reigns to take Heyman away from him, and Punk, helping out the OTC, should further irk Rollins whenever it's time for their feud. But more importantly, Punk needs to be an independent voice to call out Reigns for all the damage he's done. Give Punk a microphone next Friday and let him absolutely tear into Reigns. So I'm here to make sure that never happens again and to help take out the people who hurt my friend Paul. I'm not here for you. I'm here for him because as long as Solo has any power, Paul's not safe. I've shown you can't be trusted to keep him safe. I'll always look after him because he always looked after me, even if it means taking him far away from you. Sure, Reigns can make a quip about Punk taking his ball and going home for 10 years. Punk can tap into having a hand in Reigns' success after picking him to be in the Shield, but it will be hard for him to argue with anything that's said. It immediately creates the rift needed to make fans ponder if this union is actually going to work at Survivor Series and foreshadow the eventual explosion between Punk and Reigns. We kind of know how Rollins and Lesnar's interactions with Reigns here would end. Punk's presence is much more open-ended for both he and Heyman, which could even include a betrayal. If Kevin Owens hadn't taken out Randy Orton with a band pile driver, he made a compelling case to be the babyface in this story with his promo on SmackDown, No Lies Detected. It obviously touched a nerve with Cody Rhodes and brought out a rage while attacking Carmelo Hayes we've rarely, if ever, seen from him since he arrived in WWE. The Julia Hart vignettes really have been some of the highlights of AWTV the past few weeks. When the time is right, Johnny Gargano really should turn on his friend Alex Shelley and the Motor City Machine Guns. Mega heel Johnny Gargano sounds like a fun thing to explore instead of another split with Tommaso Ciampa. Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods crushed their explosive argument on Raw after all the boiling frustration heading into the New Day's 10-year celebration. It was raw and nothing was off limits. Even Kingston's WWE Championship loss to Brock Lesnar. I wondered why the Chris Jericho Ishii contract signing was starting in the locker room, but it made a lot more sense as Jericho tried to escape to the ring without signing. A nice twist on an old concept. The feel for the second Continental Classic is better than the first, though I was hoping to get Jay White back in to eventually face Continental Champion Kazuchika Okada. Instead, I'm hoping for a first-time match between Okada and Ricochet in the final. If Finn Balor isn't careful, he may suffer the same fate Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley have by trying to be Judgment Day's leader. Bayley helping Bianca Belair, a true gesture of trust, or a decoy before a heel turn. Naomi sure looked suspicious too when the attack on Jade Cargill was brought up on Raw. Congrats to Ring of Honor Pure Champion Lee Moriarty, who will have his painting debut at NADA Miami 2024 during Art Week from December 2nd to 8th. Moriarty's paintings attempt to capture the duality of wrestling, often showing wrestlers in masks enjoying leisurely activities or embracing their more delicate nature. It was a coming-out party for the 25-year-old Aussie, who has spent a lot of time as a tag team wrestler. He got the biggest win of his career beating Will Ospreay at Full Gear on Saturday. Fletcher went toe-to-toe and move for move with arguably the best in-ring performer in the world and showed real promise in his ability to tell a story in the ring with his facial expressions and intensity. This will be the OG Bloodline's first match together since they won WarGames 2 years ago, but will now include the combustible element that is CM Punk. So much of where the Bloodline story goes depends on the outcome of this match. A win by the OGs, and they could be done with a new group. A loss, and Reigns will likely have to face Sikoa one-on-one for the right to be Tribal Chief. The Rock will find his way into this story eventually, but Sunday feels too soon. CM Punk, Roman Reigns segment announced for Survivor Series Go Home episode of WWE SmackDown. The lineup for this week's episode of WWE SmackDown continued to take shape on Monday night. During the November 25th episode of WWE Raw, it was announced that CM Punk and Roman Reigns will sit down and talk out their differences on this Friday night Survivor Series Go Home episode of WWE Raw. The show marks the final episode before the two go to war as part of the men's WarGames match at WWE Survivor Series. WarGames 2024, where the OG Bloodline and CM Punk take on the new Bloodline and Bronson Reed. Also announced for the November 29th episode of WWE SmackDown is main event Jey Uso versus Jacob Fatu in the men's WarGames Advantage match for WWE Survivor Series. Fans were surprised to see Paul Heyman make a return to WWE SmackDown on November 22nd, 2024. But it also brought tension, as the Wiseman of the OG Bloodline brought CM Punk as the faction's fifth member for Survivor Series WarGames. However, his comeback brings into question his loyalty to Roman Reigns. Paul Heyman's return has reignited storylines for the OG Bloodline that until now were predictable. With Survivor Series in sight, fans ask if he's even on the same side. It would seem the seeds of betrayal sit firmly planted in this case, whether that be a deliberate move to give CM Punk power or a deeper vendetta against Roman Reigns. Fans last saw Heyman when Solo Sikoa unseated him from the faction in a cruel display of power. His removal, still tinged with bitterness, implies his return but begs the question: is he truly seeking reconciliation? Heyman could be planning to overthrow Reigns' management from within, payback for putting him in that position in the first place. His last power play might very well be aligning himself with CM Punk, a figure ostensibly tied to Heyman.